Alrighty, this is the Veridian cruise control system for the Triumph Speed Twin 1200. I've got a 2024, that's what this one is for. So inside the box we've got our 3-button prong with a little connector. We've got a wiring harness that will be wired up underneath the bike. One section that plugs into your OBD, the rest of these plug into your throttle cables. Inside the box we got a Veridian sticker, don't know what I'm going to do with that, and some zip ties. We'll be doing the install next. First step in installing this Veridian cruise system is to remove the seat. If you don't know how to do that, maybe installing the cruise control system might not be for you, and we want to remove this side panel. That's held in just by 3 grommets. Put that aside. Next off, we're going to take off the gas tank. So to remove the gas tank, we have this little bolt here. It's a 10mm on both sides. So we're going to be removing this bolt so we can hinge up the gas tank and prop it up for a moment while we take out all of the wiring underneath. So with that bolt undone, we're just going to lift up a little bit on the tank, and you can pull that bolt out. Relative ease, and now you'll be able to pry the tank up. So first off, we're going to pry up our gas tank. It doesn't need to go very much. You can see that this is pretty much at the extent that I'm able to pry it up at this time. So with that supported, we're going to separate these 2 little hoses right where that little copper fitting is. And all you need to do is to just basically twist it against itself. It's literally just a little rubber hose on a little brass fitting that's going to pull apart without any tools. And with that pulled apart, that's the little fitting, and that's the part that comes down from the tank. So that's your breather hose now pulled. We're going to look at the wiring on the other side and the fuel rail. Alright, so I'm on the throttle side of the bike right now, and as you can see, we have our gas line coming down out of the tank. So if you want to have a look up there, you can see how that's basically fitted up together, right up underneath there. So this fuel line comes down and clips into this, and we've got a little locking ring clip here, and we need to get on either side of the this fitting, push in this tab and the tab on the other side, and then basically twist and pull with those 2 tabs pulled, and it's going to pop out of there. You shouldn't lose very much fuel. It's a self-sealing fitting. Next to that, you can see that there are 2 little plugs there. We're going to remove both of those little plugs, and then the gas tank should be able to lift off without any kind of other restrictions. We'll see how that works out. Pull the collar back. We're going to turn this a little bit so we can get our fingers on both sides. And with strong fingers, you should be able to pop in these 2 tabs here. You want to be gentle with the actual clip. The clip's just a flimsy little plastic, and off it comes. And we are losing some gas here. So we'll give that gas a little place to drain there while we're dealing with this. Yeah, cat food container. I'm a very technical mechanic here. Okay, as we look underneath here, we're going to try and see those 2 plugs that we need to remove. It's the 2 white ones up there. And these are both held onto clips on the frame that you can pull out so that you're able to access the tabs in order to take them apart. And these are just your standard fittings. Once again, if you don't know how to undo one of these fittings, maybe this project isn't for you. But you just depress the tab, pull the fittings apart, and once those 2 are off, we should be able to grab that tank and bring it somewhere else for storage. Alright, with all of our fittings removed, now all we got to do is lift the tank up, pull it back, take it off, set it somewhere nice. Definitely don't want to put it down on anything that's going to scratch it up. We'll have a look at the underside of that fuel tank a little bit later. So with the tank off, we have our, these are the 2 sending units that go to the fuel tank. And that's our fuel rail, which is where our fuel fitting fit on. And that's what our gas tank pivots on up here. This is a little rubber stopper. Real easy to take off. All you need to do is just lift it, pull it out of place. Underneath our fuel tank, this is what we're looking at here. You can see where the those 2 little rubber mounts meet. So when you put it back on, you want to rest those 2 little rubber mounts on the bike into those 2 little slots and put all your stuff back on. This fuel line does leak a little bit, not a lot, so have something ready to capture a little bit of that oil. A little bit of that gas. Okay, so for this 24 speed twin, if you're wondering which wires to go in, the wires sit down in here, way down there. So you're going to see that little harness down there. And if you want to know which one it is, you can just follow. This would be the one on the closest side to your hand when you're riding. That little wire comes down there, plugs into one half of the cruise control, and the other half goes into that little switch that's buried down there. There's only one switch that looks like this, so that's where that goes. Next up, we're going to run the OBD cable back to the back, and we're going to install a button on the handlebars, and we're going to route that little button wire through here. The button wire plugs into this little 4-prong. We'll tidy it up, zip tie everything, and I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. Thanks. Alright, so you've decided, hey, I want to put the button for Veridian Cruise on the left side by the clutch, you know, the other mode buttons, horn, and all that other stuff, and you're thinking that's a great placement. Looks fantastic there, and it's real easy to access. The only problem is, yeah, so looks like we're going to have to put this on that side. Tis what it is. Alright, so new button placement. We're going to have that right over there. I mean, it's not too bad. It's not ideal. I really would have liked it there, but not much I can do about that. I mean, I probably could modify it and put it on these bolts, but who knows. Maybe another future project. A little pro tip, keep this loose when you're doing that so that you can slide that out of the way in order to be able to tighten that back bolt on the actual button. If you can see the button under there. Yeah, you need access to that button, so if this is loose, you're able to do that, and we can snug that back up, do the wiring. The wiring routing from our little button over here, we came just down through the regular wiring clips, came through here. I loosened up this guard, I fed it in behind here. We're going to put that guard back on there afterwards. And I fed the button over on this side so we can hook it up to our button and then basically stuff everything into that little crevice, tidy her up. See how it looks. So with this basically all stuffed up into here, I've put the guard back on, tightened up the wires as much as I can, kind of tucked them away. That's the unit here. I've kind of put it in a little bit on an angle with the wires facing down so that if there's any water saturation, at least it's going to drain out. Same thing with the plugs. I try to put those in an area where they'll be able to drain if they get full of water. This is the button that goes back to the OBD. So as you can see, I've just routed it along this little fuel rail here. You want to keep that nice and steady. I don't want it to vibrate loose or anything like that. And it comes back here. This is our OBD port, which is normally plugged directly into there. So you basically take off your OBD, plug that into this, and what I've done is I've kind of wedged it in between this little gizmo here, which is on a rubber strap, so it's got a little bit of give, and between that and this little fuse block here, and it should stop it from rattling around too much. Other than that, looks like we're ready for a test drive. So I'll put the fuel tank back on. Okay, when you're aiming to put that fuel tank back on, these little rubber grommets here, well, they fit into those little grooves in there. So if you see that there and there, so you want to put those little rubber grommets in there and then hinge it back down into place. Now we're down to the extreme danger prop now, empty gas canister. So we put this fuel line back on. When you're pushing this in, you're going to feel it stop at a certain location, but if you do not hear a loud click, you haven't got it in all the way. So once you're done that, you want to snap that lock ring back in place. That's ready to go. Like I said, if you don't hear the click, you didn't do it right. Up in the back there, you can see our two wires from the bottom of the tank there. Those are up into the gas tank, and these two are clipped into place. There's two little prongs, and you need to put those back on there. Come around to the other side of the bike, and what's left to do is this breather hose. So we just push that back into the other side of the fitting. I'll see if I can do that for you live here. So we find the breather hose over here, and we just press that back into place. So there's little white dots that were lined up prior. I don't know if that's important, but hey, might as well just leave it the way it was, right? So we've got our everything's all buttoned up. We're ready to go. We got our button in place. We got our OBD done. I'm pretty happy with the way this has gone so far. We're going to clip the tank back on and take her out for a ride. So I did take a test drive on this. Everything works as advertised. The only exception, when I've seen other tutorial videos on the Veridian cruise or reviews, a lot of them have said that pulling in the clutch will not deactivate the cruise. Maybe that's something they fixed on this particular model. 2024 Speed Twin, the clutch deactivates the cruise. Really easy, one button press sets your speed. I set it at 40 kilometers an hour, at 100 kilometers an hour, at 130 kilometers an hour. Everything looks great. This increases it by about 2 kilometers an hour. This button's kind of hard to actually press, especially if you have a glove, because you're going to get all three of them. And what I found is that when I do press this one, I tend to lean towards the top of the button and it just winds up resuming. So not that I'm really going to use the cancel button. I mean, who does that, right? You tap your brakes, it turns the cruise off. So that's probably how I'm going to use it. But overall, this is a pretty good little system. Not overly expensive, $425 Canadian, about the same as what the dealer would charge me if they offered a cruise model on this particular bike, which they don't. I know the new Speed Twins do have it, but if you've got a 2024 or earlier, and it's not available for that model, Veridian Cruise, they're in Calgary, Alberta. I'm not getting paid to talk about this. I just bought it and like it. So anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching.